All right, we're going to look at solving this one by completing the square. So the first thing you want to do when you complete the square is you want to make sure that you have just an x squared term, and then your x term, and then you want to move your constant to the other side. So I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So I'm going to get x squared minus 6x equals 1. So the key is when you're completing the square is you want to take this middle term, which in this case is negative 6. I want to split it in half and square it. So if I split it in half, I'm going to get negative 3. And then if I square it, I'm going to get 9. So the goal is I'm going to now add 9 to both sides. So I'm taking half of that middle, squaring it, and adding it to both sides. So what that's going to give me is that's going to give me x squared minus 6x plus 9 equals 10. So now our last thing to do is we can now factor this, because what we've done by adding that complete the square term is we have made this a perfect square trinomial. And this factors is x minus 3 and x minus 3, because two numbers that multiply to 9 and add to negative 6 are negative 3 and negative 3. So I can write this as x minus 3 squared equals 10. So what we have now is we now have this first answer that's obviously this one. It's 3 here and it's 10 here. So now we have to solve this part right here. So we have something squared equal to a number. So what I will do is I will take the square root of both sides. So that's going to yield me x minus 3. And when I take the square root, I want to make sure I put the plus and minus in front of that square root. Then to get x by itself, I'll simply add 3. So I get x equals 3 plus or minus the square root of 10. So those are my two solutions. So the way I would write them in Alex, I'll do 3 plus square root of 10. And then you do a comma, and then 3 minus square root of 10. So you add that special number to both sides, you factor one side, you take the square root, and that's how we get our answers with complete the square. Let's look at this one. It's another problem I just made up, similar kind of idea. So the first thing I'll do is I'll get rid of this 2, I'll add it to the other side. So we'll get x squared minus 10x equals 2. And now our special term again is going to be half of this squared. Well, half of that is negative 5. And squared is going to give me 25. So I'm going to add 25 to both sides. So now if we think about this side, two numbers that multiply to 25 and add to negative 10 are going to be negative 5 and negative 5. So this perfect square trinomial can be written as x minus 5 squared equals 27. So now I'll take the square root. So I'll get x minus 5 equals plus or minus the square root of 27. So if I simplify radical 27, because this one does simplify, because radical 27 is 9 and 3, and then the square root of 9 is 3, so this just becomes plus minus 3 radical 3, and then I can add 5 to both sides. So my solution is going to be x equals 5 plus or minus 3 square root of 3. So the big thing to remember with completing the square is you always want to make sure you get the x squared and the x on one side, take half of that middle term, and square it. That is the big thing to remember with complete the square, and you can solve it from there.